Through the saints, through Our Lady, through our Lord, we prevail. This video is before the weekend, and it's concerning some of the tactics that people will use to keep people captive financially. Now, I'm speaking of normal people. When you're just whatever you're being organized against because you're running for office. I've known people this has happened to, and people try to make sure they can't run. I knew somebody that somebody organized against him over a small minutiae issue about child support. Just a small minutiae issue, and technically, legally, there's nothing to compel about. He did the right thing, and he was in college, and the law stipulates if the court referee and the judge agree, what's the problem? Somebody's a college student. In the long run, they're benefiting their child, especially if they're going to law school and they graduate with a very good standing. And somebody wants to complain about $100 or $200 a month in child support. I think that's pretty ridiculous, considering the amount of money that this person is paying in scholarships, loans, grants to go to law school, and cash to go to law school, so their child will have a better life. In the long run, the long picture, retaliatory people and people that just don't care. They're selfish, they're greedy, they don't really care about their child. They only care about the money in their pocket. They don't see the long run. They don't see the end game. So some people organized against somebody I knew to try to prevent him from getting his bar card over this ridiculous issue. And because some ultra conservatives and people that stand by the good moral character statute, which is totally ambiguous. What about senators sleeping with other senators when they're separated? I don't think it's our business. Even if a senator or a politician commits adultery, yeah, that's definitely a moral thing to consider around re-election time. But to compel them from their seat, if they're separated, it's a legal issue. It's none of our business, even as a voter. It's not my business. If people are separated and it's on paper or at least a verbal agreement, yes, we're in separation point. We've failed with our marriage counseling has failed. In time, we're going to cool off and get a divorce. I mean, it's left up to the mediators at the divorce hearing. That's the way I look at it. Yeah, certainly it's a moral thing, but if somebody's going through annulment or divorce, either one, it's the same thing. It's a moral thing. An annulment, if it's a matter of an annulment is still processing and it's not done, but yet there's no reason that it would be denied. Again, it's just an issue that's really, it's none of our business. It's between the couple, God, their lawyers, and if it's annulment, with the marriage tribunal and their parish priest. That's the way I look at it. Certainly the standard scripturally is to wait until the stamp is on there and all the signatures are on there so the annulment is cleared without impediment, or so the divorce is adjourned. But even so, we're not talking about that kind of issue. What we're talking about is, ambiguous moral character clauses that they don't stop anything, it's just, I don't know, it's ambiguous, really. It's really ambiguous. And what was moral 20 years ago in some things may not, now is considered, who cares? It's not my business. Or, well, everybody has a right, It's ambiguous. Anyway, to use stuff against people when they want to better themselves, I think that's absolutely ridiculous. That's a destructive economy. say to somebody, oh, you're poor, you can't start a business, you're not going to get a loan. I don't care if you have great credit. You're poor, your parents were poor, just stay poor. I don't agree with that kind of attitude. Or if somebody's bettering themselves and they lower their child support because they're in college. Oh, so he went to college just so he wouldn't have to pay. Come on. Nobody gets rich going to college. You can get all the loans and scholarships you want, plus work on campus. I don't know of anybody driving off a college campus with a Mercedes unless they play sports or they got a TA position. That's about it, and that's probably overkill for TA. You're going to find out. Your second year as a TA, yeah, you're living beyond your means already. But anyway, I'm just speaking about that. But I'm speaking of the ways that the people are targeted, and just want to talk about a few that I've known that have happened. And people have lived in apartment complexes or government complexes, and when they move in, the place is a money pit. It's just, substandard plumbing, substandard electrical outlets. The trim work is just, it looks like it's pulled out of an old sawmill. A sawmill with broken teeth on the blade. Just horrible work. The staining is not properly prepped, nor is it properly applied. And tons of, snags in the carpet, or carpet that's unraveling because it's not laid right, or it's laid incorrectly, over a seam in the floor or something. Just stuff like that. I mean, it does happen too. You got to have the right amount of foam when you put your carpeting over some kind of a seam in the floor, where there's higher lumber, because it'll wear the carpet out faster. The strands will tear. Or recycling carpet. I've seen that. Lived in a place that did that. They made it look like it was new, but when you really, really inspected the carpet, you see that they just cleaned it professionally, and then they laid it back down. But, or doors. Also lived in a place where, because I lost my keys. Oh, no, wait, those weren't lost. Those were stolen. Sorry. Wrong place. Actually, that first place, I ended up finding them. But the second place, no, the keys were stolen. That's right. But, anyway. So, I had to break the door in. The keys were stolen. Eventually, they turned up. But, had to break into the house, and I was given a used door, and I was told it was new, but they refused to give me a receipt. It didn't even have the warehouse stickers on it. Nothing. It was obviously used. It had nicks on it. Yeah, obviously it was a used door, but I had to pay new price. But anyway, so this kind of stuff, and everything will be cheaply done. Even if you do a maintenance request, only part of your maintenance request will ever be done. Even if they take 2 days, that kind of stuff. Let's see, what else? Bed bugs. I've seen buildings. I haven't lived in one, but actually I take that back. I have lived in one building where one of the apartments had them. But the tenant gets blamed for it, even though if the particular landlord has a history of bed bugs because they don't do a full proper treatment. And then in the end, they have a history of litigating the tenant, saying it's the tenant's fault, even though they don't do a proper eradication. And then, reusing carpet without properly cleaning that carpet, which if you have bed bugs, even in a building, even 1 or 2 apartments away, destroy the carpet. Because the eggs can go anywhere. All it takes is 1 egg. If there's another adult, boom. But, or 2 other adults. I mean, I guess theoretically 3. It would take 3 bed bugs with at least 1 different sex to get the eggs. But anyway, I think. Yeah, I think so. I don't think they're self-fertilizing. Anyway, But this kind of stuff, and like I said, even if it takes 2 days to get a list done of stuff on your place, there's always stuff that's left. So in the end, or your rent gets raised, but you're not properly notified. This happened to us, and I know it happened to somebody else in my building as well. Changed this post office box. The guy I knew from when we lived in the same building and the same complex. And they changed his mailbox, didn't properly serve him. So all of the letters about the notice about the mail kept going, and he kept having arrears. And his wife had a third-party payee. That's Saginaw County. If they can disable you in this county, they will disable you their way. And there's so many guardianships and third-party payees in this county that some of the empty buildings in the city of Saginaw are for third-party payee offices and guardianship offices. You want to talk about stepping on human rights? It's going on right here. And I've met some of these people in our experiences the past 8 years. And some of these people, they're not criminals. If they have emotional or psychological issues, they're not violent. The vast majority, I would say 90%. But people keep on abusing them and beating them down into submission. But now if you're part of the right religious group, or the right racial group, or the right, political activist group, nobody will bother you. Matter of fact, you'll prosper. But so these people, their rent kept going up and up and up, and they had bed bugs in their building, and I mean, it was an infestation. It wasn't really bad. Actually, I've seen worse, but there was some there. They got blamed for it, and subsequently, they're forced out, and then they were litigated when the complex used their connections to help them, both of them, get their disability, maximized. Now, does that sound like the way things should go? Did they, use their connections legally or whatever? I don't know the exact story, but I just know that they helped them out. But they litigated them immediately as well for, a significant amount of money. Is this really helping people? But I can't forget they emotionally crippled one of the people, and she's still dealing with after effects now. They bullied the heck out of them. A lot of it ethnic intimidation. They bullied the heck out of them. And one of them, I believe, is a veteran. I haven't seen a 214, but I believe is a veteran. Yeah, but there's other stories like that. Not always the same ethnic background, but generally it's pretty consistent. One ethnic background is targeted, but not always. There's another veteran here that doesn't seem to be driving his car anymore. There was a nice car. He's very independent, but he's not driving his car now. So that makes me wonder. Like I said, that's the building I live now. But this kind of stuff, they target people. They make them financially unstable. And, sometimes the housing agencies and the apartment complexes are complicit with it. Or state agencies will be as ambiguous as possible about the rules of your program, financial support program, as ambiguous as possible. As that so they can later try to do a litigation to force you to pay it back. And then, pad one of those third-party payee offices with another client. It's a big question. Or they know that, a family is being targeted medically, so they can't get any paperwork for anything, but yet they still have doctors, they have case summaries, they have radiology reports, they have diagnostic reports, but yet that's not enough. Oh no, that's not enough. We need the doctor's signature saying this, this, and this. It's not enough to have all the medical reports, the diagnostician's reports, with a diagnosis, the radiology reports, the blood chemistry records. It's not enough. No, it's not enough for us. So people are denied any kind of ADA accommodations or stuff like that. So apparently you need a sick note, which is the most ridiculous thing I ever heard. People on welfare, if you're on a program where you have some kind of requirements, like requirement to work for your medical insurance, does that make sense at all? At all. You have to work to keep your medical insurance. What about if it's somebody's sick, or how many hours a week? What if somebody's a part-timer? I don't agree with this stuff. I agree in saving government money too, but you got to use common sense, and you also have to have compassion and empathy. You're going to find 75% of people don't want to be on welfare. They're forced on it. And those people are struggling to find a way to get off it, and you're going to add more stuff? What about if somebody's a single parent? Oh, they have to work for their cash benefits plus for their insurance and food stamps. They got to work 30 hours a week, or volunteer 30 hours a week, or look for a job 30 hours a week. But that's it. I would say working towards them getting off welfare, if that's a part-time job, in addition to, their medical stuff, which is supposed to be the way certain programs, like the PATH program, is designed. You're supposed to have time for family self-sufficiency, which means doing stuff to take care of your family, pay your bills, try to find a car, try to find a job, make sure your kids are, everything is set with school, take your kids to their appointments, counseling, whatever, job training, school, along with any volunteer work, which, this is a really crummy thing, because in Michigan, or at least Saginaw County, the only volunteer work that counts is that which is approved by Michigan Works. Michigan Works, they're coming at this with, they have their own agenda. They're a 501c3. How is this fair for people that are in the PATH program? Oh yeah, we have to approve it. You're the same thing as the place I'm working. Then I guess you're supposed to be working with us. Since when does the state of Michigan purposely choose where somebody will volunteer, especially when it's connected, albeit, indirectly, to a very specific, religiously oriented parachurch organization? How is that fair? What about the separation of church and state? Oh, can the Baptists can volunteer at their church, but not the Catholics? Or, the Pentecostals can help with a homeless ministry, but not the Muslims. Oh, well, the Jewish people, they can volunteer with their temple, but not the Adventists. No, they can't. They have to work with us. Where do we draw the line? Where's fairness and justice come in? Where do we draw a line between the church and state? Or parachurch organizations which muddy the water between church and state? So that's all I say. No, I don't believe in a theocratic government. I do not. Even as a Catholic, with Orthodox connections, I do not believe in a theocratic government. I do not. I believe that democracy is the best example for justice and fairness in this world. And that people who, we can call it a thea-oriented government, which means people have some kind of faith and they bring some kind of justice into the way they serve their government. Serve, not reign. I hate when people use the word reign. Reign denotes the idea of a fascist. Serve involves a church, or even, a church worker or a political or secular employee of the government. Servant. Oh, but anyway, back to the topic. So people are being targeted through all of these different ways to keep people down. And I saw that, The couple I was talking about before, they were homeless for almost a year. They were litigated, and then because they're being targeted, people are hacking them and all kinds of stuff too, but they don't know about tech like some of us other guys do, like myself and others. So they kept them homeless for 9 months. They probably don't know that, whoever is targeting them, I don't know why they're being targeted, but again, I see the pattern of a veteran. But if somebody is intercepting, I don't think they use email. I think everything is phone. So if somebody is messing with their phone for a year and they're getting the text from all those apartment complexes and replying and taking them, like I saw what happens to us when I would email or text. When I moved locations, when we moved from the Auburn Veterans Hotel back to Saginaw County, the minute I walked into Saginaw County and I opened up my email and I re-logged on to my phone, re-logged on, I had a backflow of messages and stuff for 6 months. Why is that? I know why. Because somebody was simulating my phone. They're holding stuff back. So when I came back in and I logged outside of their simulator, all that stuff came. I had I think it was over the course of 9 months, when I came back into the county, I think I had over 1,000 emails regarding school, regarding apartment searches, regarding vehicles, all kind of stuff. It just flooded in because somebody was messing with my phone. I know about this stuff. Many other people do not. And yet nobody will do anything. None of these agencies, none of the housing agencies, HUD-VASH, they won't do anything. Matter of fact, one person from HUD-VASH, I don't know if she works there or not anymore, but she lied. She told people, oh yeah, we're helping him. She lied. They're not helping us at all. Helping with the voucher. Yeah, we're helping make sure the voucher's paid. That's it. Regarding our other, things that are challenges to us, obstacles, they're not helping us to eliminate them or to look for ways to eliminate them. That's on me. Which, is reasonable in one hand, but yet when we're being hacked and stuff so much and people are messing with our accounts, it makes it a little more difficult. Well, actually, it makes it a lot more difficult. So these are the kind of things that people will do to target people and keep them financially captive. Normal people. I'm not talking about millionaires. Anyway, I'm not going to go into the millionaires, involved from this movement or that movement or this campaign or that campaign. People that were targeted in this or that or this or that. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about normal people like you and me. When people do these same tactics they do to big names, to normal people like us, it destroys our life. We don't have the millions, and we don't have millionaire club friends who can help us stand on one leg until we can get 3 down. We don't have that. We're normal people. But yet we seem to be getting disenfranchised because we don't have millionaire friends. I don't care, Democrat, Republican. I don't care, millennial, old timer. It doesn't matter. The fact remains true. The Millionaires Club, whether you're 20 or whether you're 65, they stand together. And so my point is, that's why this channel is here. My point is that, when normal people, when we experience stuff and we can identify it and we can help somebody else, hopefully I'm helping, somebody and they're a good person. If somebody is some kind of repeatedly mean to people or wicked or a predator or serial whatever, serial wife abuser or somebody that has always been a crappy dad. Like I've said before, I hope the Holy Spirit through me, through this channel, works on your conscience. I hope. But I'm not going to stop the channel just because some bad people may be subscribed to me. Because I believe the Holy Spirit can knock people right on their face. And then just like St. Paul, when you're looking up from that horse and you see the blinding light of Jesus looking at you and pointing, it's something pretty powerful you can't just ignore.